Welcome back to America Unfiltered, where we cut through the spin and get to the truth. I'm your host, and today we need to talk about something serious, something that's dominating the headlines and causing a lot of anxiety, the looming government shutdown here in 2025. You're hearing a lot of breathless warnings, a lot of finger-pointing, and a lot of talk about chaos. But let's be honest, much of what you're hearing from the mainstream media completely misses the point, or worse, deliberately distorts it. What we are facing is not some random act of political theater. This is a direct consequence of decades of unchecked spending, of a federal government that has grown so bloated, so entitled, and so disconnected from the realities of everyday Americans that it believes it has a divine right to spend whatever it wants, whenever it wants, with no accountability. And now, the bill is coming due. For years, conservatives have been sounding the alarm about the unsustainable path our nation is on. We've watched both parties, though one more enthusiastically than the other, open the spigots of federal spending, racking up trillions in national debt. Every single year, we hear the same old refrain: we must pass a clean budget bill, which is code for passing it without any real cuts, without any meaningful reform, and without any serious attempt to address the fiscal cliff we're speeding toward. Well, you know what? Enough is enough. This isn't about shutting down the entire government, it's about shutting down waste. It's about prioritizing essential functions over luxuries, pet projects, and ideological crusades. When your family faces a budget crunch, you don't just keep swiping the credit card. You cut back. You make the hard choices. Why on earth should the federal government, which is funded by your hard-earned tax dollars, be any different? The narrative you will hear is that conservatives are being extremist, or holding the country hostage. This is a cynical manipulation of language. Taking a stand for fiscal responsibility, for the future solvency of our nation, is not extremism. It is patriotism. It is a necessary act of courage in the face of political cowardice. The real hostage takers are those who insist on continuing a spending spree that is bankrupting our children and our grandchildren. Let's be very clear about what actually gets shut down. Essential services, air traffic control, border patrol, military operations, these are not generally impacted in the same way. What gets impacted are often the non-essential, often redundant, and often wasteful parts of the federal bureaucracy. Agencies that push woke agendas, programs that funnel money to special interest groups, and conferences that could easily be held over a video call. These are the areas where cuts are desperately needed. Do you really think the sky will fall if some federal bureaucracy stops processing paperwork for a few weeks? Do you believe our nation will crumble if certain government-funded art projects are put on hold? The reality is, many Americans won't even notice some of these shutdowns, precisely because the functions being performed are either unnecessary or could be handled more efficiently by the private sector or state governments. The real economic danger isn't a temporary government slowdown. The real economic danger is the crushing national debt, the persistent inflation fueled by reckless spending, and the unsustainable trajectory that threatens to plunge future generations into insurmountable fiscal despair. A shutdown, as painful as it might be in the short term for some, is a desperate attempt to force a conversation that Washington has refused to have for far too long. We are witnessing a fundamental clash of ideologies. On one side, you have those who believe the government is the solution to every problem, that more spending, more programs, and more federal control are always the answer. On the other side, you have conservatives who believe in individual liberty, limited government, and fiscal prudence. We believe that empowering individuals and communities, not an ever-expanding federal leviathan, is the path to prosperity. This shutdown, should it occur, is not an end in itself. It's a means to an end, to force accountability, to demand transparency, to finally bring some sanity to our nation's finances. It's about drawing a line in the sand and saying, no more blank checks, no more spending without consequence, no more mortgaging our children's future for political expediency today. We understand that some federal workers will be temporarily impacted, and that is a hardship we don't take lightly. But let's remember, their pay will be made whole once a budget is passed. The far greater hardship is the burden placed on every single American taxpayer by a government that refuses to live within its means. The far greater injustice is leaving our children with a mountain of debt they can never hope to repay. This is about more than just numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about the very soul of our nation. It's about whether we will be a country defined by individual responsibility and limited government, or by an ever-growing, all-encompassing federal bureaucracy that dictates every aspect of our lives and stifles innovation and freedom with endless regulations and taxes. So, when you hear the cries of alarm about the 2025 government shutdown, remember this. This isn't about conservatives being obstructionist. It's about conservatives finally, and rightly, saying, enough is enough. It's about fighting for fiscal sanity, for limited government, and for the economic future of every American. This is a stand for principle, a stand for the future, and a stand for the true American spirit of independence and self-reliance. It's time for Washington to stop playing games with our money and start being responsible stewards of the public trust. What do you think? Are these budget battles necessary, or is it just political grandstanding? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, share it, and if you haven't already, subscribe to America Unfiltered for more honest analysis. We'll see you next time.